Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today when I was out on my travels I drove past this church and as normal I had to stop. I'm absolutely amazed it's not actually a listed building because as you'll see inside it's full of history, there's yew trees everywhere, so I just don't understand why it's not a listed building when it's so similar to other buildings I've been to. This might be the reason. It's got these kind of strange brown type windows and also this really strange blue colour for the gutters. I really don't like this colour. I've seen other churches with green and it looks horrible too. In my opinion, these gutters should just be black. But what do I know? So a brief history about the church. It's thought there's been a church on this site since the pre-Norman days, and the dedication of St. Peter probably dates from Norman times. The story of the church is closely linked to a Walbeorf family. Now, I'm sure I've just butchered that name as I normally do, but he was one of the first Norman lords of the area. As you walk inside the porch, you'll find these 5 or 6 really large memorials of that said family, and I really like to see this. I love seeing porches with some history inside them, and these come from the late 16th and early 17th century. The porch was rebuilt in 1887 when these memorials were added. It was unusual to have the porch and main door on the north side, sometimes regarded as the devil's side. So you'll notice in most of my videos I'll walk into a church and then I'll turn right against the tower. But this one you walk in and actually go left towards the chancel. As you walk in, you're greeted with the lovely reredos that would have been behind the altar. This was moved to this part of the church in 1910. And underneath it we have a 10th century memorial stone named the Moridic stone. So if you're like me, you're wondering why isn't this place listed? Because we've already seen lots of history straight away. You know, we're talking about 10th century stonework here. The plain font is of an unknown date. It may have been carved or recarved by Henry Davies around 1805. Now, back in that time, this church was noted that it was in a really bad state. But it wasn't until 1886 when there was a major restoration of the church. The nave and chancel were totally rebuilt. This cost around £1,100. While the tower itself is thought to be untouched since the 15th century. As you walk into the chancel, you're hit with these striking 6 painted angels on the east wall. Now these are modern replacements and the original ones would have been done back in the 1880s when the church was rebuilt. On the floor in the altar area, you'll find Jane. She is thought to have died in the 1330s, and originally she would have been freestanding on a table tomb in the original church. So in 2007, the angels were photographed and measured. The wall was then stripped and replastered with the correct lime plaster, and the near exact replicas were repainted. The last restoration of this church was done back in 2003. Where the main issue was the roof. Many stone tiles were slipping, particularly at the east end, allowing squirrels to get in and water to penetrate, marking the floors, pews and staining the walls, in particular lifting the plaster and destroying those painted angels. There was also some work done inside the tower. This was all paid for by the Heritage Lottery Fund and many other generous private donations. The cost overall was around £100,000. So as you can see, these churches are real money pits. They need constant restorations and a flow of money that just isn't coming in as much as it used to. I'll head back outside now and we'll have a look around the graveyard itself. So just over 20 years ago, they replaced the whole roof and they've replaced it with some really thick, heavy looking tiles. but you can see already how much they've weathered just in a small period of time. So it does make you think, when's the next time this will need retiling? I would say in probably about 30 years' time. Now, this church is clearly looked after and loved by the local people, and you can tell that because the graveyard's in a fantastic condition. So while we walk around this lovely graveyard, I just want to clarify a few things about the channel and why I actually make these videos. In my last video, I suggested that we might actually get a Christian revival back in this country. Now, I get quite a few comments on that, and some from Christians who get really excited and they hope it's going to happen, and others from like non-believers or atheists or whatever who seem to still like these buildings but just don't like Christianity or religion, which I totally understand. Now, this channel isn't about me, it's about these buildings, so I don't really like talking about my own personal opinions, but what I will say is I 1,000,000% believe in God, but I'm not actually what you would class as a Christian. I really do struggle with the whole Jesus narrative, whether he was even a real person or not, and I'm not here to discuss that. I really don't care what your beliefs are. You're free to believe in anything you really want. The main reason I would like a Christian revival is because I want to live in a Christian country. Now, I'm sure if I was alive 200 years ago, I wouldn't be saying that, because I don't actually like religion as a whole and people telling you what you can and can't do. That's why I understand the people who say they don't want religion in this country. Unfortunately, we're not going to just lose Christianity and that's it and be all free to do what we want. We are being taken over by a different religion. So if we allow this to happen, if we lose our churches and Christianity, we will no longer have a country. There will be no England, Scotland or Wales, and that is the absolute truth. So I hope that clarifies why exactly I'm promoting Christianity as a whole and not just the churches and the buildings. I'm going to try and make 2 to 3 videos a week from now on and really show these amazing churches. So if you are enjoying the videos, please hit the like button and please subscribe if you haven't already. It will really help the channel. I'll leave you now with some drone footage and I'll see you all really soon.